going on, everybody? I go by the name of Curry, and I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on SneakerPhetish. Once again, another really slept on shoe with an incredible story behind it. But the question again is, how come nobody bought it? Let's talk about it after we take a look at the shoe. Boom. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Air Jordan 3 Knicks, aka the rivalry. Now, first of all, I just want to tell you guys how disappointed I am that y'all did not buy this sneaker. But I get it, and we're gonna get into it in just a second. But let's take a little deeper look at this shoe, because in my personal opinion, one of the best drops so far of 2019, and I mean that. All right, starting off with the upper, again, you have a classic Air Jordan 3 silhouette. Nothing different about the silhouette in and of itself. Great materials, we'll take a look at those. But the first thing that you take a look at, of course, is the bold blue and orange color blocking representing the New York Knicks. Starting off, you have that classic white Air Jordan 3 tumbled leather. Really nice leather, really soft, nothing really different there. You got that really nice elephant print, and it's kind of like a true blue Jordan 3, where you have the elephant print on the heel of the shoe, wrapping around the toe box of the shoe, and at the eyelets of the shoe as well. Now, that elephant print is against blue eyelets where the strings are, and underneath that, of course, are orange eyelets, and that also matches the orange eyelets at the top of the shoe as well. New York Knick orange wrapping around the midsole of the sneaker from the lateral side all the way to the medial side as well. Not gonna lie to you guys though, still not the biggest fan of whatever they use to paint these midsoles on Jordan 3s. I don't know what it is. I don't know what kind of paint this is, but it really feels like a school project in art class. It's just, I don't know. I don't like the way it's painted, but anyway. You got that big stitched orange Jumpman on the front of the tongue. On the heel of the shoe, you have that blue Jumpman with that blue air right underneath it. Now, getting inside of the shoe, of course, you have this really nice blue lining. Now, again, different kind of lining that we're used to seeing in a Jordan 3. This is, again, kind of a neoprene-like lining, similar to what we saw in the Obsidian Jordan 1. Most notably, on the back of the tongue, instead of the Air Jordan tag, you have this orange tag that says April 8th, 1988. We will get into why a lot of you guys got that date wrong in just a second. On the insole of the shoe, New York Knick blue insole with an orange Jumpman right on the heel. On the hang tag of this one, you get the classic orange background with a blue Jumpman symbol with the air right underneath. And on the outsole of the shoe, you get this really nice gray outsole with this blue hit here right in the midfoot by the heel with that classic orange Jordan branding with that orange hit right there at the top of the foot as well. And that's pretty much it when it comes to the shoe itself. Now let's get into a little bit of history. All right, as you guys know, the New York Knicks and the Chicago Bulls had a mean rivalry all through the 80s and even getting into the 90s a little bit, but the rivalry was strong. Two very competitive teams with their top two stars really going at each other all the time. Of course, you had John Starks and Patrick Ewing for the Knicks. You had Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen for the Bulls, and they always loved to just duke it out, even though the Bulls really ended up smacking the Knicks a lot of times when they would meet up. Now, of course, that Patrick Ewing-Michael Jordan rivalry goes all the way back to NCAA days when Michael Jordan beat him at the University of North Carolina against Georgetown that Patrick Ewing was playing on. So if I'm Patrick Ewing, I got a long-standing hatred for Michael Jordan. I mean, think about it. Michael Jordan is so big that they couldn't even get the rights to put that man in NBA Jam. Now, Patrick Ewing and John Starks were in NBA Jam. They were a good team to play with, but unfortunately, you couldn't get MJ with the Chicago Bulls. However, this sneaker in particular, I think is one of the best releases of the year so far, just because of how bad it trolls the New York Knicks, and I'm petty like that. I love a good troll. So, of course, the Air Jordan 3 debuted in 1988, hence why we have this color scheme and this shoe in particular with these Knicks colors on it. 1988 was a pivotal year because the New York Knicks and the Chicago Bulls really went at it a couple of times, especially in the latter part of the season. Now, here's where a lot of people get the dates a little mixed up. The date on the tongue on the back of this shoe, as I mentioned, is April 8th, 1988. Now, that is a day that the New York Knicks and the Chicago Bulls played each other in Chicago. Now, during that game, Patrick Ewing scored 42 points, Michael Jordan scored 40 points, but the Chicago Bulls still came out victorious in that game. However, just 11 days later, on April 19th, 1988, the Chicago Bulls played the New York Knicks again, this time in New York, where they did win again, but that's the game that a lot of people talked about. Michael Jordan had some kind of a stomach virus, and he hit 47 points in that game. game. Now, I want to be very clear about this because a lot of people have said that 47-point performance during the virus game was the motivation behind this sneaker, but that game was not on April 8th, 1988. The game on April 8th, 1988 was a game where Michael Jordan dropped 40 points in Chicago. Now, even though it may seem a little more lackluster, not as exciting as the virus game where he dropped actually more points, but the fact of the matter was that was the home game in Chicago, hence why they put the New York Knicks colors on the shoe from 1988 from Chicago when they beat them in Chicago. So to add insult to injury, all these years later, they slapped the New York Knicks colors on the shoe that Michael Jordan beat the brakes off the Knicks in. How about that for a troll? And not only that, but then they also put the date that they beat the Knicks on top of that as well. To me, it doesn't get any better than that. Now, as I'm recording this, pretty much every size in the shoe is still available on sneakers. So the question is, why? How come nobody bought the sneaker with that dope of a story behind it? Honestly, I think there's a couple of answers as to why nobody is really buying this shoe right now. Number one, there's a lot of other sneakers that are releasing around these Knicks. You have the Sakai's that are dropping. You have the Cloud White Yeezys that are getting ready to drop. There's a lot of other sneaker drops that were happening around this sneaker, and people just really didn't pay as close of attention on this one as other shoes that, let's be honest, they can make a lot more money on. Now, on top of that, it's really difficult to sell a theme sneaker like this, especially that has colors on it that are really specific to one team, and honestly, not even the biggest team out right now. I mean, of course, it was very different when you had the Kobe Protros with the Lakers color on it that were worth a lot of money. Everybody bought them up immediately because it was such an iconic team with such an iconic player. But the New York Knicks is kind of a weird dichotomy. It's a weird dynamic because if you're a New York Knicks fan, you don't want to buy this sneaker because it just reminds you of how bad they got beaten back in the day. And if you're a Chicago Bulls fan, you don't want to buy this sneaker because it's your rival's colors. So who's buying it? I mean, I bought it, but I bought it mainly so that I can talk to you guys about how dope it is because a lot of you guys may not know the story behind them. And I think that's another reason why a lot of people didn't buy the shoe as well. Again, this is more of a collector's piece. This is a shoe that really highlights a moment in history for Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. And let's just be honest, history ain't selling these days. Profitability is. People really could care less about what Sakai or who Sakai is as long as Sakai is making money. A lot of people don't really care about Travis Scott and aren't that deep into his catalog, but all they know is that his sneakers are worth a lot of money right now. And that's why those are flying off the shelves. But then you have these little gems here. You have these sneakers that have such a dope history, and myself as being such a history buff and loving to learn about the history and the legacy of Michael Jordan and the Bulls and wanting to know as many details as I can, of course, I'm going to like this. I think the OGs bought this shoe, and I think it might have sold out in some other websites that maybe had a lower quantity, but it definitely isn't sold out in so many places that you can't get your hands on a pair for retail price if you don't want to. So it looks like another really dope sneaker that's on its way to the outlets, and maybe you'll be able to grab them if you're waiting to get a pair for a little cheaper price. Looks like your wish will probably come true sooner than later. I don't know what to do if I'm Jordan Brand these days. Maybe sneakers like this, they need to lower the quantity of it. Maybe that'll not only drive up a little bit of demand, but it'll hedge their bets a little bit more when it comes to the amount of money that they're putting into producing a shoe like this, because there were a lot of pairs of these that were actually produced. And technically it was a more limited release, but still they said. And honestly, I think that's really a shame. But I get it. The game is the game right now. And honestly, all the money is going towards sneakers that can make people a lot of money back. So a lot of shoes like this end up going under the radar. Sucks, but it is what it is. Anyway, with that being said, enough of me talking about the sneaker. Now it's time for you guys to sound off in the comments and let me know what you guys think about the Air Jordan 3 Knicks. Is this a shoe that you did actually pick up? Were you one of the few that actually picked the shoe up? Why did you pick it up if you did? Or if you passed on it, why did you pass on it? Was it one of the reasons that I mentioned, or was it a different reason altogether? Sound off down in the comments and let me know. And of course, while you're down in the comments, make sure that you click on that subscribe button so that we can welcome you into the Sneaker Fetish family to make sure you don't miss out on any more heat that comes through like this, because I guarantee you, I got a lot more heat on the way. As always, I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on Sneaker Fetish, taking a look at these with me, unboxing them with me for a couple of minutes. I go by the name of Kari. This is the Air Jordan 3 Knicks, and until next time, I'm out.